now. We the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. We got more NFL predictions. First and foremost, this is very important. I need to know what are our standings. I was behind coming into this week. Did I do well?
I don't know. I'm starting to feel sorry for you at this
really?
point. And it was better than I thought it was going to be, but you lost one more point, which brings the total to 79 to 73. We were only 9-8 last week.
That's not good. I know I had the Seahawks and you had the Niners. That's one where we definitely disagree.
The Niners is what put me over the top. Yeah. We also had the Steelers and Browns. You had the Browns.
Oh, so yeah.
That was my extra game there. But really, I was going to play it off like the Niners are the ones that helped me beat you once again.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Could make up for it.
Although, when Matt Nagy was announced out, I really wanted to change my pick.
Yeah. And it was a lot closer than it had to be. I mean, for 3 quarters, it was toe-to-toe. And then finally, Jimmy stepped up, but it's closer than you'd like it to be. But at least
I'll tell you, though, I'll feel good about Justin Fields once he's out from under Matt Nagy. I think he's going to be good. He looked good in that game.
He looked fine. It was his best game so far. Against pretty good pass rush too. He's a rookie, don't expect the world, but I think he's looking fundamentally very, very solid and far enough along to where we can, the team is good enough to give him a shot. So he's not going to be a world beater. He's not going to win anything this year, but he'll develop fine. I think he's in a good spot for long term.
Absolutely.
Let's go into this week 9. And we got some good ones here. Kicking it off Thursday night, Jets at Colts.
Yeah, definitely. I was on the wrong page here. Jets and Colts. This is going to be a barn burner considering Mike, what's his name? Mike White?
Mike White.
Mike White was the second best rookie quarterback of all time for fantasy football last week in his first game. The second best first game ever played by a rookie quarterback. That's amazing. I don't know how this happened, but he may be the new starter going forward. I mean, that does make you wonder. Are they going to bring old boy back when he's healthy, or are they just going to stick with Mike White here? Because he dominated that game. It's amazing. But on the other hand, the Colts almost pulled it off against one of the best teams in the league. The Titans definitely are. They lost Derrick Henry in that game. But we'll talk about that later. The Colts, I'm going to take them at home. I think they can pull this off.
I will also take the Colts, but as for the Jets, I mean, I kind of had a hard time believing what I'm seeing. Like, who is this guy Mike White? It's like, I was saying, like, they showed his picture and his name. I was like, I thought that for a minute that Robert Saleh literally, like, went into Madden player creation mode, and he gave the guy the most generic name ever and just a default appearance, and he just made an extra quarterback that somehow pulled him out of nowhere, and he put him 99 overall apparently because he was balling out. That was completely nuts to see. Did not expect that. I expect them to go down big time. But it was a trap game. It was a trap game apparently for the Bengals. As we had called out, by the way, in the comments last week's podcast, and we both didn't believe it, but it was trap game for the Bengals, and Mike White, out of all the people in the world, somehow made it happen.
I know.
That being said, though, it's the Jets. I don't believe in the Jets long term. A lot of these kinds of wins are attributed to no one having film on him, no one being able to really prepare for him. And is Mike White starting? You would think so, right? But Joe Flacco is on the roster, but you
when
can't really.
They asked Saleh about it right after the game, and he just laughed and said, "Of course he's starting."
Yeah, I can't really take him out after this one. So I'll agree with you though. I'll take the Colts. Falcons at Saints.
Oh, man. This is a tough one, actually, because if Jameis was still the quarterback, I would say, oh, well, that's easy. The Falcons are back to sucking. Like, after a good little couple of game run, they're off again. Like, it's all gone to hell in a handbasket all over again. And, oh, no, we suck again. Calvin Ridley decided that he doesn't like football anymore. I'm sure he's going through some tough mental things. I don't know what's going on with him, but wish him all the best. He's not going to be here to help the Falcons. The Saints, we've seen that they can be decent with Taysom Hill. So I think the Saints are going to take this one at home, and it sucks to say that.
It's hard to not pick the Saints. It's weird. Like you get a quarterback, starting quarterback gets hurt, backup comes in and wins the game against a strong opponent. We saw Mike White do it. We saw Trevor Siemian do it now against the Buccaneers of all people, which was very impressive. And this, by the way, adds yet another obscure name to the list of quarterbacks that have outplayed Tom Brady one-on-one this season. The list that also includes Mac Jones, by the way. But that's neither here nor there. I gotta pick the Saints. I mean, I have to. He looked probably better than Jameis, more consistent at least. I do like Jameis Winston. I hate to see him being injured, being out for the season, because he's one of those players I just always root for. But it's probably not going to hurt the Saints too much, and I will pick them. Still not convinced about the Falcons. I think sort of still up in the air. The team identity hasn't really been found, and I don't think it's going to happen this season, so I'll pick the Saints. Of course, by the time that this podcast is out, the city of Atlanta will be busy celebrating their World Series win. We're recording this podcast.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
About 5 hours. 5 hours before.
No, you're gonna jinx it.
Finally, another title. So they'll throw the first pitch in like 3 hours from now, as we're recording this live. So by the time it's out, it'll be over. Hopefully, you would think it would be, but you never know. I'll take the Saints. Broncos at Cowboys.
Speaking of the Saints, though, the way you said that, I guess I was under the assumption that Taysom was going to start, but he's not, because it's Trevor Siemian, right? Like, Taysom
I would
out
think,
for
yeah.
the season, right?
Yeah. Trevor Siemian's going to start, I'm assuming.
Yeah, my first thought was like, hey, Taysom's going to take over after this week, but I think he is on injured reserve or something, so that makes sense that Siemian would be the guy there. Okay. Broncos and Cowboys. Oh, man, this is going to be a disaster. The Broncos have lost Von Miller now at this point. Give him to a much better team, and I'm sure Von's going to be happy about that. Cowboys can win with their backup. I mean, Jesus, I think every game this season, this week, looks like it's going to have a backup quarterback in it. Hopefully not, but Cowboys should easily win this because they've proven that they can win with Cooper Rush, and the Broncos have proven they can't win with either of their quarterbacks.
I'll say this, and I think I said this the game before, but this is another example of the backup quarterback stepping in and somehow just winning. And I know that the Cowboys were actually the underdogs by the odds makers, by the bookies, like 2 hours or so before kickoff. And when I saw that, because I was watching the baseball game as well, and this one in parallel, and I saw that the Vikings were favored. I instantly started betting on Dallas because there's no reason that one quarterback, especially Dak Prescott, who is good, valuable, but not in like the upper echelon of team MVP kind of valuable. Like, he's okay, but the Cowboys with him aren't gonna, like, they're not losing their most important player or anything. So I started betting on Dallas, and it was close, but Cooper Rush managed to pull it out. And we're assuming that Dak Prescott's going to start this week against Denver, but frankly, it doesn't matter. I think if Cooper Rush starts or Dak Prescott comes back, doesn't matter much. Cowboys should win. Broncos started off really, really hot. Then now traded Von Miller, started kind of losing their way, and are probably headed for a pretty mediocre season without any real playoff contention. So I will take Dallas as well. This one is one that really interests me now. The Patriots and Panthers.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. This is the battle of 4-4 right here. And Sam Darnold was able to put it together and pull out the win here. I think PJ did step in for one play, I think.
Yeah.
And threw an interception, I believe. With the Patriots, they're actually on a roll. Like, as much as I hate to say that, they're looking decent. They could go 8-8 if they play their cards right, and that would be funny if they do. But This is tough. I don't think the Panthers are anything great. I don't think they're putting it back together. They still don't have Christian McCaffrey, and he still looks doubtful for this game. I guess there's always that possibility that he could come back. But I am going to take the Patriots on the road because the Panthers were just playing the Falcons defense, and everybody does that to the Falcons defense.
I will. One thing I want to remark on before I gave my pick: Sam Darnold, highest passer rating in the NFL last week. Not even a huge stat line, but statistically highest passer rating in the league. Of course, got knocked out of the game. I'm not sure about his status exactly. He was out with a concussion, which typically when that happens, you're sort of like doubtful for the next week, pretty much until kickoff, and no one really knows what's going to happen. Add to that Christian McCaffrey being in a similar spot. He's not really going to be there. You don't know if Darnold's going to be there. I don't trust anyone but Sam Darnold in that spot at all. I'll take the Patriots as well. If I knew that both of those guys were healthy and were playing, I'd probably take Carolina with a slightly better defense. And by the way, this is a revenge game for Stephon Gilmore, who got activated to the Panthers roster. And he's going to try to get an interception for sure. I'd take the Panthers, but with that not being a given, I think this offense could stagnate really, really badly. Because the receiving core of the Panthers hasn't really lived up to its expectations so far. And I know there's a lot of young guys there, but this team has been mainly carried by the running attack and by defense early in the season. With that being taken out of the picture, I have to take the Patriots. Because Mac Jones, I also strongly believe in him, and the Patriots are fundamentally such a solid organization that you got to go with them. Vikings and Ravens.
All right, I'm going to get on to the Vikings and Ravens real quick, but I do want to clear this up because I talked about it just a few minutes ago. Taysom Hill is not on IR. He was just out for the past 2 games, and he could possibly return and actually take over that spot. I guess we'll see what Sean Payton does about that, but either way, Vikings and Ravens. The Vikings are once again proving that they are less than mediocre. If they can't get their run game going, they have no chance at winning games. And Dalvin Cook, being one of the best running backs in the league, I don't know why they can't get him going. I mean, maybe the O-line is just that bad this year, and they really need to work on drafting better. Ravens are coming back off a bye. There is no reason they should not dominate this game and at least win by 21.
21 is a big spread. I mean, the official spread is 6 points. I will say that. So if you believe in that, you might want to take the Ravens to cover that. But I
think they'll cover for sure.
No, they may well. That is true. I will also take Baltimore to win straight up. Definitely, they're coming off bye week. They'll be the more healthy team, the more convincing team so far. No brainer to me. Browns at Bengals.
Now, I want to point out that before the season started, I picked the Browns to be dead last in this division, and everybody told me I was crazy, but as of going into week 9, they are dead last in this division. Bengals are coming off that horrible defeat. You know, things happen like that. Bengals are new to winning, so maybe their fans don't realize this as of yet, but sometimes you can be a really good team and just take a horrible loss to a nobody like the Jets. You know, like you said, they walked into a buzzsaw. That's what happened. And I think they'll get it going on this one. Browns defense is pretty good. Even if Baker's back, he's not 100%, which I don't expect him to be. I think we're going to see Case Keenum again. All signs point toward Bengals winning this in easy fashion at home.
Wow, so you made it sound a lot clearer than it was. I need to remind you the Bengals lost to the Jets.
Well, true, yeah, but
they lost to the Jets.
It happens. It happens.
Yeah,
you know?
it does happen, and they probably are favored. I will agree with that. I love this expression though. The fan base has to get used to because they're new to winning. that's like at least for the last 40 years there hasn't been much winning happening. That is true. So it's been a while since that happened. So that's a good expression. And don't get me wrong, I'm not making fun. I think they have a bright future. Joe Burrow is fantastic,
they do.
And they're going to be the one of the best teams in the AFC for a long time. I think if they play their cards right. Cleveland, sort of the star-studded team. They were the the hype team, the post-hype sleeper. Neither one of those seasons they really lived up to it. Last season they were pretty good, mainly due to the run game. If they can reestablish that, I think they'll still be quality team. Big letdown is the passing attack. I mean, Baker Mayfield is kind of, we kind of knew he was going to be sort of the average, mediocre game manager quarterback, and they knew that the day that they drafted him. I would suspect they did. No one expected him to be a superstar. He was never going to be that, but he's a solid starter. But the receivers, I mean, you got Jarvis Landry, brought in Odell Beckham. They're bottom tier receivers right now. They're just not working out at all. This passing game is looking weak. The names on that roster do not justify the results that this team is seeing so far. So big underachiever. This is a big game for Cleveland because they have to win it to stay in any sort of contention. And this is an interesting parallel because the same applies to me with my big loss of points over the last 3 weeks or so against you. I also have to win to stay in contention, and that leads me to pick the Browns on this one. I don't really want to. I don't believe it, but I have to make a stand in these games like this where it's sort of surrounded by uncertainty from a lot of factors, and I have to pick Cleveland. I think they'll reestablish. The drought keeps going for Cincinnati as much as I believe they to be the better team, and they are favored. I'll take Cleveland. Bills at Jaguars.
Yeah, this is another game that really should not be a contest. I mean, we know, the Bills are winning in dominant fashion for the most part, but they are having stumbles. They're not quite the team they were last season. I think last season that would have probably been 46-11 against the Dolphins rather than 26-11. But, that happens. It's regression. When you come off of a season that hot, it happens. And I'll say this, Josh Allen, he's not regressing like he should have. He's still doing really, really well. And he may just buck the trend here, and he may just become one of those mainstays at the top of the heap, up there with the Peytons and the Drew Breeses of the world, But right here, they should easily crush the Jaguars on the road.
I mean, not much to add to that. Bills absolutely are going to win. They have to win. They're favored by over 2 touchdowns. And this is a great game for Josh Allen to really make his MVP case because he's sort of in that top tier conversation with a couple of the guys right now. If he puts 40 down just to make an impression, this is a good opportunity. So Bills to win. This is the true tank bowl. This is the tankiest we've had this season so far. The Texans at the Dolphins. Deshaun Watson in shambles.
Yeah. They may just leave Deshaun Watson in Miami when they go down there. They're like, here's your guy. Have fun.
1 week too late, unfortunately. The deadline is tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't look like it's going to get done. But you guys will know by the time hearing this, and I don't think it is. I think Watson's going to end up staying at least until the offseason. Both these teams are 1-7. Both of them are dumpster fires right now. The Dolphins are overall a more talented team. The Texans are overall a older and more beat up team. And Davis Mills is not the answer. I don't think anybody expected him to be. Maybe he can be serviceable at times. We saw him do that. We saw him play really well in one game, and then he just went back to being what everybody thought Davis Mills would be. Tua has to get it together here. We have to make some connections with Jalen Waddle. I know he loves Jalen Waddle. He throws it to him, it seems like 20 times a game. But these tosses are not going anywhere. We got to get Jalen Waddle into the end zone. Devontae Parker still looks good. He still looks good in every game. He does a lot with his receptions. Tua has to get this under control, and this has to be the game to do it. You have to win in Miami in front of your home crowd.
And that's something I totally agree with. I will also take the Dolphins. I still have to say, though, I feel we're constantly defending Davis Mills on this show, but you don't say the same thing about Zach Wilson, and he's in the exact same spot, or you don't say the same thing about Trevor Lawrence, right? Check his record. You don't say Trevor Lawrence is not the answer for Jacksonville, and Davis Mills arguably is in a worse situation in Houston. He
because
also
of draft capital, though. I mean, it comes back to draft capital.
Yes, that is true. But you can't write him off completely just yet. Probably not fair to do that. That being said, of course, not looking particularly good. So I do also agree that the Dolphins should win. I think Dolphins are probably much stronger than their record would indicate. I mean, they played relatively close with the Bills, and they had a couple very close calls. If you recall that game against Atlanta, for instance, which I know you know very well, they could be at a better record. Houston, however, not so much. And they also, no one knows what this is, but Houston just traded away arguably their best defensive player. In the shadows of the Von Miller trade, I even forget his name, Chase something, but he's like their best pass rusher, and he's a top 10 pass rusher this season. They traded him away for peanuts. So they're tanking for sure. And as far as Deshaun Watson is concerned, of course, he's going to stay in Houston for the rest of the year. He's going to leave in the offseason. They have no reason to play him. He has no reason to want to play for them. And where he's going to end up, we'll see, but he's not gonna be playing for the Texans for sure. Raiders at the Giants.
Well, this one here, I can tell you, you can go ahead and pick your enemies here, and maybe this will be the chance for you to catch up, or at least get closer and get it within range here. I am going to take the Giants at home here. And a lot of people will tell me I'm crazy. I'm sure the Raiders are favored here. And they're coming off of their bump after losing their head coach, which tends to happen. But I think at some point this season, the Raiders are going to fall apart. It seems inevitable. I mean, I don't think they're that good. And when you're using your coordinators as co-head coaches or however they're working it down there, I think it's going to fall apart at some point. And the Giants are going to be there to capitalize because the Giants are much better than their record. They almost beat, which I'm not going to say that the Chiefs are really a great team, but they are really a great team. They're just not a really great team this season, but they are a good team. And the Giants almost got one over on them. The Giants are going to be at home. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Giants win this.
I know you really want to. Quick, before I go into this, because I have to do it justice, Charles Omenihu is the guy's name.
Yes.
For 6th round pick in 2023, this guy's a statistically top 10 pass rusher ahead of the likes of Nick Bosa this year so far. And they just threw him out.
Not the first time that the Flores has done this. I always want to say Todd Bowles every time I think about him. Not the first time he's done this. I mean, think about what's our boy from Alabama? Oh Jesus, I forgot his name. The dude that was smoking up he went to the Steelers. You know who I'm talking about.
No, not sure.
Oh Jesus.
Oh, are you confusing teams? I think you're thinking Minkah Fitzpatrick, right?
Yeah, Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Oh, but that's Dolphins. I was Charles Omenihu
yeah.
is from the Texans. He went was traded by the
okay.
Texans, so they're tanking.
My bad.
Yeah.
See, I saw that earlier, and I was like, why did I? Okay. I
saw
my bad.
it too,
I confused that.
Yeah, I saw it too because he went to the Niners and he for absolutely no draft value at all. And I thought, okay, it's just a backup, but no, he's a top 10 pass rusher statistically right now, like higher pressure rating than a bunch of superstars. So I don't know. They didn't want to keep him apparently.
Oh, he's worth a 6th rounder in 2 years.
In 2023.
They didn't value him very much.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
As for the Giants and Raiders, I know you want the Giants to win. I know I want the Giants to win. It's one of those where I have to make a stand again and I have to pick the Raiders because we've seen them through all the turmoil they've been through. And by the way, there's a new story every week, it seems. They've kept kind of being okay and kind of winning. Now the Giants perform pretty well. Maybe the Chiefs just perform badly. It's probably sort of meeting in the middle there. But this is one of those where I have to pick the Raiders simply because I have to win. They are the Vegas favorites, surprisingly, right? Because they play in Vegas. But they are the favorites for the bookies. Only slightly, not as much as you'd expect maybe. But I have to take them. I think they're probably the better roster overall, and I need the points against you. So there it is. Chargers at Eagles.
Now, after this last week, this is a tough game right here for me to pick. It really is. The Chargers are finally hitting the regression that I thought they were going to hit, and Herbert is not looking great at the moment. And it really comes down to how long is it going to take him to kick out of this little slump here. Some quarterbacks, they did last the whole season. Some of them get hit with a few games. Some of them get hit with 9, 10, 12 games. It's really, when is Herbert going to get over this little slump that tends to happen after a huge season like he had last year? I didn't think it was even going to happen after the first few games of the season, but here it is. And the Eagles actually look really good. They crushed the Lions, but it's the Lions. And Hurts was playing so good that they didn't even need him at the end of the game. But I think Hurts is not the answer here for the Eagles, and they're going to lose this game even with the Chargers being on the road.
So all the momentum in the world would say to pick the Eagles, right? And this it looks like the perfect pick for me because I said before I have to make the bold picks, but the ones that seem plausible to win against you. But for this one, man, he can't get me to do it. With all the momentum I want to think, but then it comes down to Justin Herbert and then Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. And there's not much more of a bigger spread in my eyes in terms of quarterback quality. This is a top 3 talent versus someone who, I mean, he's backed up by Gardner Minshew, and I have no idea why. But apparently they do believe in him. But I do not. I really don't. I did not believe in him when he was at Bama. I saw him there. He went to Oklahoma, which, quarterbacks from Oklahoma. Justin Herbert's gonna win. He's just he has to do it by himself if he must, but he's just too high quality and he'll win, in my opinion. Yeah. Packers at Chiefs.
Man, this is another one. I think the Chiefs are still a good team, and they're going to be a good team next year. They've just gotten hit with some kind of bug that tends to happen to good teams, and every now and then you have a down season. Even when the Patriots were in the midst of their runs, they had a down season here and there. Now, unfortunately for the rest of the world, their down seasons were like still 10 wins, and that could happen to the Chiefs. I don't think that they're going to make a deep run in the playoffs this year, but they'll be back next year. So if you're a Chiefs fan, don't worry about it. They're still going to be great in the future. As for right now, the Packers are on fire. They're going to go to Kansas City and roll right over the Chiefs.
You would think so, right? This is like probably the most quarterback talent we've ever seen in an NFL game together. It's a quick snarky remark of the day. If Davante Adams was in Chiefs, he'd be lucky to be a third stringer.
Liar.
No, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are easily better than him. Yes, what? Of course they are. Yeah. Did you notice that the Packers just beat the best team in the league without Davante Adams and some guy who was like he was on the Packers? Yeah, he was on the Packers at first, and he disappeared into the void for 2 years.
It took
he came
5
back.
receivers to equal the production of Davante Adams. Davante Adams goes for over 100 yards every game. I don't think. I don't know. I think the biggest number they had was like 30 on somebody. I know Randall Cobb had 2 touchdowns. But it took 5 receivers to equal the production of Davante Adams in that game.
And only if he spreads it around, right? If he throws all those passes to the same guy, put one guy to run all those routes that are designed to get open, or that Aaron Rodgers miraculously throws open, it doesn't make that much of a difference. I didn't notice that their best receiver was gone when they beat the best team in the league on the road. And they're going to go and beat the most talented team in the league. On the road at Kansas City. Davante Adams or not, because they have the best quarterback in the game, best player I've ever seen. And it doesn't matter who he's throwing to. He could be running offensive linemen, like jumbo packages, eligible guys, and run them down the seam. He's going to make it happen somehow. Aaron Rodgers has catapulted himself in the MVP conversation, and he would be the undisputed frontrunner if it wasn't for that Week 1 game against the Saints.
I know.
That still taints it. After that, take Week 1 out, it's not even close. Aaron Rodgers is the MVP again, and he's going to continue. I'll take him. This is a good opportunity though for Mahomes to kind of right the ship and put 50, because we know that the Packers defense is not very good. One bright spot that's kind of emerging this year is Rashawn Gary. Who's been kind of under the radar ever since getting drafted pretty highly. He's been doing pretty good. But other than that, we know this defense has more holes in it than Wisconsin cheese, which is fitting. Maybe he can exploit it. Tyreek Hill won my fantasy matchup for me last week, which I appreciated. But I'll take Aaron Rodgers. Doesn't even matter if Davante's there or not. I haven't even looked at it. Is he going to be playing? Is Davante Adams going to be back?
I'm hoping so. They still haven't taken him off the COVID list at the moment, but I'm hoping he's going to be back for my teams for sure. And I do want to say I also like Devondre Campbell. That's a hard name to say for some reason, but I think he's a bright spot on this defense also at linebacker.
He'll turn into one. He's having a good season, yeah. But I don't even care if Devontae plays. Didn't even look at it. Packers, Aaron Rodgers wins. Cardinals at Niners.
Now, speaking of the Cardinals, these are my post-hype sleepers, and I think they're going to go deep into the playoffs, but I don't think they are the best team in the league. I really don't. I don't think they're the best team in that division. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But as for the 49ers, I got one up on you by picking them last week, but I can't. Maybe their luck continues, and maybe the Cardinals have hit a slump because they realize now that they are mortal and they can fall if you have a super quarterback that can do it to you. But we don't have a super quarterback in Jimmy G. And who knows, maybe Trey Lance is, but he's probably not going to play in here because Kyle Shanahan reminds me of Kirby Smart in a way where he will not play his best option. He's got loyalty, and he's going to go with the old guy that's been there forever, no matter how good he is. Rant over. Cardinals should win this one on the road.
I have no idea what makes you say that Trey Lance is the best option, like, right now. There's absolutely no sense in that.
He will be because you're not winning it this season. He will be if you let him build confidence throughout this season.
Yeah, he will become one, but then again, also remember guys like Deshaun Kaiser. They threw him in with all the talent in the world, and the confidence he built was that after a season and going 0-16, he was sick of football. It's not something you want. And then contrast to Patrick Mahomes, who got the treatment of sitting behind a decent veteran like Alex Smith, who's like Jimmy Garoppolo, just an above-average game manager on a decent team, nothing spectacular, and he turned into like the most talented and biggest breakup player ever, won the MVP. So if Jimmy's healthy, regard it as a blessing. He turns 30 years old today as we record this, so we know he's injury prone already, and he's going up on 30 now. So every game you get out of him fully healthy, and we saw it against the Bears, he played really well, top 5 performance. That's typically what Jimmy Garoppolo does when he's healthy and he has the support and he gets to play the game that he plays. He plays really well. That's all you need. There is no need to throw Trey Lance in any sooner than absolutely necessary. And if he can sit for the rest of the year without taking a snap, that is the best case scenario for the 49ers. That is the hill I will die on. Now, secondly, if I had you guess the odds for this game, what do you think it would be?
Oh man, I'm gonna say Cardinals by at least 5 or 6.
Now, I'm looking at my bookie. This game right now is literally a pick'em.
Really?
Literally a pick'em. And the reason for that...
They lost confidence in the Cardinals.
The reason for that, I think, becomes clear when we look at the fantasy chart. And there is some uncertainty about the availability of Kyler Murray still. There's still no guarantee that Kyler Murray is going to play. I believe if he were in and they knew he was going to play, Cardinals should still be favored. But even with that, it seems like a very kind of tilted odd making there, because the Niners just beat the Bears kind of hardly in the fourth quarter, and the Cardinals lost one game this year, and that was to Aaron Rodgers, and that was just last week. So it's interesting that this is a pick'em. I, of course, would like the Niners to win it, but I will pick the Cardinals. As for now, got to stick with the status quo there. They haven't shown that they tend to lose much. I will say, though, if Jimmy comes back the way he played last week, George Kittle coming back, this is still, it's still a good team, fundamentally. If they're healthy, they'll be able to play well. Drake Greenlaw, the practice window is opening this week. So they are getting better. They're actively getting better, and they added another pass rusher there on the opposite side of Nick Bosa as well. But I'll stick with the Cardinals. The record is there. However, if they lose this one and they kind of start dropping off, maybe some shifts happening in the division, and you already hinted at it, because the Rams are hosting the Titans, which is, by the way, a fantastic game in primetime. Yeah,
and man, last week when we talked about this, it made me think there are a few super teams in this league. And yes, the Cardinals are one of them, but they may be lacking a little bit at quarterback compared to some of the other teams like Brady or this guy right here, Matthew Stafford. The Rams are a super team, in my opinion. They were a few years ago. They were just lacking at quarterback also when they had Jared Goff. They spent a ton. When Sean McVay got there, they spent a ton in the offseason and used the advantage of that rookie contract to build a super team. And a lot of those guys are still around, but now they have the missing piece in Matthew Stafford. I guess you could say they are lacking a little bit at running back since they lost Cam Akers. That was their superstar to be. But the Rams are overall the Titans are great. I ain't going to say they're overall a much better team, but they do have the advantage here. The Titans barely eked out that win over the Colts, and I was kind of cheering for the Colts, to tell you the truth. But Titans are going to be hurting without Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry may be out for the rest of the season. It's going to be tough. This is going to be Adrian Peterson, most likely at this point, from what I'm hearing, at running back for him. I'm going to take the Rams on at home, and this should be the game of the week.
Man, there's some names that just seem to never disappear from the NFL, right? Yeah. When did you last talk about Adrian Peterson? It's incredible.
Yeah.
And the Titans, too. I remember that was the team that Kyler Murray kind of spent his last years of football. Not Kyler Murray, what I'm talking about. DeMarco Murray, I'm insane. DeMarco Murray spent his last years of football productivity with the Titans as well. So a long list of superstar running backs over the past decade. There, with Derrick Henry, of course, being out, this is a big loss because that's the center of your offense, and now you're gonna have to be throwing. Now you think that you have the receiving talent to do so, right? AJ Brown and Julio Jones, and I think they do. But it still takes away a full dimension of their offense. And the Rams are building such an immense team now with Von Miller added into the mix because they desperately needed help at pass rusher. Am I right? Mm-hmm. They did not. I think the Rams probably are the best team in the league, to be honest with you. Now, I would rank them number one right now. Because this is sort of the situation where the Rams could be... It would just fit perfectly for the Rams to be the team that beats Aaron Rodgers in the championship game because it happens every year. He just runs into a super team and he can't do it himself. So that's kind of what it feels like it could be to me. Rams should beat the Titans. I'll take him as well. I need to see what happens without Derrick Henry. If he was there, be closer, but they're favored by over a touchdown. So people really like the Rams. I do too. Not I like them, but I like them to win the game. So gotta go with them. And then we have compared to this one, a very anticlimactic Monday night game here: Bears at Steelers.
Oh, yawn. But now you made me think about it. If Adrian Peterson comes back, look, he's gonna run into Aaron Donald and Von Miller on that line. Like, Jesus. Bears and Steelers. Like I said, the Bears were actually better. I think I said that on air. If not, I meant to. The Bears were actually better without Matt Nagy because that's the Matt Nagy effect. It's almost like the Adam Gase effect. The team is going to be better without him. So, head management for the Bears, you should fire that guy because your team could actually be decent. Steelers are not good, but they are winning games somehow in very undramatic fashion. 15-10 wins is not going to light the world on fire, but this is the Bears we're talking about, and it's in Pittsburgh, so I assume the Steelers are going to win this one at home.
Now, we know that Justin Fields definitely has the potential to work magic. He did that last week. He is definitely coming along, and he's going to be the more explosive quarterback, the more sort of interesting offense there with the Bears for sure. By the way, the Steelers also traded one of the players. They traded Melvin Ingram away to, I believe, the Kansas City Chiefs. So he's going to be heading to Kansas City. Yeah, I didn't see much use. Didn't see much use with the Steelers. Anyway, didn't get much for him, so it's not going to be a big impact there. They got better guys already. But with all that being said, yeah, I'm more excited for the Bears offense in general, but here's simply what it comes down to in gritty games like this, right? One of these teams has an all-time great head coach, the other one does not, and I think I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
And typically the more organized team wins these games, and the Steelers play fundamentally very good defense. I was able to pick up their defense in fantasy for this week, hoping that's going to be a big score, and they're gonna beat the Bears in my opinion. Justin Fields has a chance for sure. They're no world beaters, the Steelers aren't. He has a chance if he plays like he did last week, makes the miracles happen, continues to progress. He's got a good shot, but the Steelers are the safe pick, so that's what I'm going with. Which finishes off week 9 for us here. We got 4 teams on bye. The Lions, who need it, the Seahawks, who probably also needed get Russell recovered, the Buccaneers, and the Washington football team are on byes. Nothing too exciting, nothing too big that we're missing there. One thing I want to ask you though, and if this goes to everyone as well, the MVP poll is up on my channel community page. You can go vote for who is your current NFL MVP. Season ended today. Who wins the MVP? And I want to hear your opinion. Who did you vote for in the Week 9 MVP race?
Well, it's still holding firm for me. I mean, yes, Josh is giving he's throwing his name in the hat once again, like he did last season. And it's going to be close. I mean, as of right now, it's close. It's between Josh Allen and Matt Stafford. But I'm still leaning Stafford because I guess there's a part of me, too, that says if a committee is voting on this right now and these two guys were exactly even, who are they going to lean toward? Much like they would lean toward Aaron Rodgers, they would also lean toward Matt Stafford. So I'm still saying Matt Stafford right now. And, you know, and homerism aside, I do like Matt Stafford. But anyone can tell you that's listening to the show, I love Josh Allen too. But I'm still leaning toward Matt Stafford.
Well, my opinion from last week also has gone unchanged, but it's a different one. I'm going to stick with Josh Allen, who you also mentioned. I'm going to stick with Josh Allen, too. He's not given me a reason not to, and I think he's going to make the case this week with a big win and big points at Jacksonville. But you can vote for who you think should win the MVP or is currently the MVP favorite on my channel page, community, and let us know if you think someone else other than the listed guys. Just comment us and we'll see who you find to be most favored. One quick tidbit of information that I kind of missed while we went through it, but it just caught my eye, and I'm sort of questioning my reality. The Chiefs are 1-point favorites against the Packers.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, they consider them that close. I guess they feel like the Chiefs can still win at any given moment. I mean, the offense is explosive, yeah.
Yeah.
They just ran into some bad luck, and it is in Kansas City.
It is. Man, and Patrick Mahomes was throwing into a Swiss cheese secondary.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible.
I don't know. I think the Packers should be favored in that game. I really do, because of the current record. I mean, the Chiefs just barely struggle win got past the Giants. And the Giants are no world beaters. I do like the talent on the Giants, but they're not putting it together. Their offensive line sucks, and their defense sucks. And the Chiefs barely did it. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to
see how
bet. I'm gonna have to put some money on Green Bay here. I mean, you're giving me a point to pick the best record team and Aaron Rodgers. I have to put some on Green Bay. This seems very loose, but we know what he's capable of, so maybe it's justified. But we will see about that. Any foreshadowing for what awaits us in the fantasy world this week?
Yeah, it's the trade deadline for the NFL has come and passed by the time you're hearing this, so we still have a few weeks of trading left in fantasy football. So this week, the topic of the show is going to be about trade away and who you should trade and why you should trade them.
All right. I'm going to be looking at that for sure because I need to make some moves as well. I'm still kind of slumping around in the kind of middle of my league. I won my game, luckily, but I need to finish the season out strong. So I'm going to have a look at that for sure. So anyone who's interested in that should check out the Hurry Up Offense coming up later on, a couple hours after this one actually on this channel. For the fantasy ads fantasy football news advice in 10 minutes or less, sometimes 11 minutes. But, sue us. What are you going to do about it?
It happens.
So, it happens. The important topics get in the way. So make sure to check that out as well and subscribe to Beyond Football, weekly podcast, weekly fantasy advice from a fantasy pro, and vote. Who do you think is the MVP or who should be the MVP right now in the community tab? So thank you for watching. We're going to see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard. Ha.